Welcome to my PowerPoint on Billy in Deadlock. So Billy is actually a really interesting character. Not only does he have one of the best guns in the game, it actually has the 4th highest fire rate in the entire game, his base kit and abilities are also very powerful. You don't see that too often aside from, some of the more overpowered, overtuned characters, but Billy really isn't even overtuned by any means. He's incredibly popular, he's incredibly powerful at most stages of the game, and basically starting at level 4 or whatever, once you get a second point into your blasted ability, you're just you basically become as strong as you'll be throughout the entire game, which is very strong, I do have to point out. Now, Billy, his stats aren't the most impressive when you look at them, right? Especially his bullet damage. You would think for a character that, like Billy, that does so much gun damage, his bullet damage would actually be a lot higher, but his base bullet damage is only 6.5, and his scaling is only 0.16, which is some of the lowest in the entire game. That being said, though, you're still going to be pumping out a lot of gun damage on Billy because, like I said, because, well, his gun is so fast. It fires at 11.8 bullets per second. It's almost 12 bullets per second. Now, when we're talking about vitality stats, we get to look at Billy. He's not the tankiest character. He doesn't have the greatest scaling, but for the most part, nothing about Billy is really bad. All of his stats are about above average or better, except for the fact that he actually has a negative crit bonus scale. Only a few characters have it. I think Viper and maybe Kelvin and one or two other have it as well, but he has a minus 20% crit damage, which basically just means that you're not getting, yeah, Billy's gun fires super fast and he does a lot of damage, but you're basically not doing that much less damage if you're just hitting body shots compared to hitting headshots. That being said, Biquette, Billy's gun, does have a recoil to it. It's not a strong recoil, it's very light actually, but if you do hold it down, it will slowly go up, so you have to slowly hold it down while you're playing Billy to get the most out of your gun. That being said though, his base stats aren't really anything special, except for a base passive that Billy has where while he is using a quick melee, he can move at normal speed, which is pretty interesting when you add on top of the fact that his quick melee is actually faster than other characters. So most characters, you don't really want to be quick meleeing very often if you are, aside from, if they haven't parried. But for Billy, there's no real reason to heavy melee in the first place because he can do 2 quick melees faster than he can do a heavy melee, which isn't the same for other characters, right? They can't do 2 quick melees faster than a heavy melee. So Billy is really interesting. He has good abilities, he has good melee, his gun's really good, and he just culminates into basically just a ball of stats that runs at the enemy team. It's really awesome to play. Now, let's start with his first ability, Bashdown. Bashdown's Billy's main AoE tool and really his main damaging ability. It does a good amount of damage at base, right? It starts with 55 melee damage and 35 spirit damage. And when you hit an enemy with it, it will knock them up for 0.4 seconds. It's really, really strong, and having a knock up at all is very useful because it allows your team to not only see the target more effectively when you are diving on them, but they're not able to move on the ground because they're knocked up. Yeah, they can use any mobility abilities or dashes or whatever, but you don't always have that, and especially if you're hit by Billy Ultimate, which we'll talk about later, you can't really do that. So Bashdown is of course it's a strong ability on its own, don't get me wrong. It has a 35 second cooldown, it's on a charge system, and while the level ups of the first 2 aren't the greatest, right? Minus 10 seconds, nobody's ever going to scoff at that for the first rank, and plus 1.3 meter radius going from 4.5 to 5.8 is not nothing. But the big kicker for Bashdown is the rank 3 upgrade. Now deals 60% heavy melee damage. So what that means is it means that Billy's Bashdown goes from counting as a light melee for things like Blasted or for, items like Spirit Snatch, Life Strike, etc., right? It now counts as a heavy melee. So the cooldown of Spirit Snatch and Life Strike doesn't, it doesn't get doubled like if you're using a light melee. Or your Blasted will give you the full health from that heavy melee, which is really, really strong. On top of the fact that it does increase the damage of the ability as well. Getting the rank 3 upgrade in Bashdown as your first 5 ability point upgrade is definitely what you should go for. And you might be thinking when we get to Blasted, wait a minute, if you upgrade Blasted, you get more bonus health on its rank 5 ability. Yes, but the Bashdown will still count as a light melee and not a heavy melee. so it won't give as much health as it would if you had gotten the Blasted rank 5 upgrade before you get the Bashdown rank 5 upgrade. We'll talk about that when we get there, but let's move on to the next ability, Rising Ram. So Rising Ram's really Billy's kind of like main engage tool. You can use it for mobility, and it is fine doing that, but it has a very long cooldown, and its first rank 1 ability lowers the cooldown by 50% on impact. So you really want to be using it to go in rather than run away. That being said, it's still a very strong ability. It is 55 damage with 1.7 spirit scaling, which is pretty high. Yeah, the cooldown is 30 seconds, but like I said, because you're going in with it, it's only actually technically 15 seconds, which is really, really nice. When you charge in the enemy, they do get knocked up alongside you into the air, which you can either do actually a lot of things. You could quick melee them, you could heavy melee them, you could use Bashdown, you could use your ultimate, you could use any active items you have, or you could just shoot them. All of those are valid options depending on the situation you're in. Typically, if you hit someone with Rising Ram, especially in low elo, they're gonna parry right away because they're gonna think that you're gonna go for a charge melee, which you can either bait out by just waiting and then going for a charge melee after. You can use Bashdown, you can use a quick melee, which sometimes they'll be able to parry anyway, so watch out for that. Or you just shoot them. And Billy's gun does a lot of damage at close range. It has its first damage fall off is, I believe, 14 meters. So when you're at close range, it does unreal amounts of damage. And that's where you want to be on Billy. You want to be in their face, you want to be fighting them, and you want to be getting so much value out of your abilities that you're kind of like, it's disgusting how much value the abilities from Billy, or so much value you're getting from Billy's abilities, before you even talk about like items and the items that he's got, because this character is just he's so good with items. He scales with so many different ones. Anyway, the rank 2 upgrade of Rising Ram makes it so on impact you get plus 25 weapon damage for 5 seconds. Again, very powerful. You're not going to be getting this as early into the game, so it's not like you're going to be getting it really early because, well, the other upgrades are better, so the damage isn't that useful until later in the game, but you don't really care because, well, when you're later in the game, you already have so much bonus weapon damage that this scales, and once you get that upgrade, you're just going to start nuking people. And then lastly, but kind of certainly least, on impact deals 6% max health as spirit damage. This isn't bad by any means, but if they do have spirit resist, you know, it's spirit damage, so it's going to get blocked. And I mean, of all of Billy's rank 5 upgrades, I believe, or rank 3 upgrades, the 5 ability upgrades, this is definitely the least valuable one by a lot. That doesn't mean it's bad, but like, come on. There's just, I mean, you'll see the other one. You saw, you know, Bashdown becoming a heavy melee, or we'll see Blasted, which, you know, gives plus 50 bonus melee health, which is insane. Speaking of Blasted, Blasted is really strong. So passively, Blasted makes it so your melee hits will store ammo and inflict Wrecked on the victim. Wrecked makes it so they have minus 15% fire rate, and it lasts for 7 seconds. But as the active ability, you empower your weapons and make it so that when you melee someone, you get bonus max health, which is 80 times 0.78 spirit scaling, and they take more damage from your bullets, 9% while wrecked. This, of course, lasts for 11 seconds, and its duration can be extended for every time you melee them by 4.5 seconds. It has a 35% effectiveness against non-players, and then it's only half as strong on light melees, but that technically doesn't matter because Billy can just light melee twice as fast. So, yes, it is half as effective, but if you just light melee twice in the time that it would take to, you know, heavy melee once, that's the same thing. For the rank 1, Blasted makes it so you move 2.25 meters per second faster, which is not nothing. When you add on top like sprint speed and you add the Blasted, you're actually moving around the map pretty fast. On the rank 2 upgrade of Blasted, which you typically want to be getting right away as your first rank 2 upgrade, you get +1 use of Bashdown, and it makes it so you do 7% more damage to wrecked enemies. So it goes from 9% to 16%. Very, very strong. A lot of people will tell you that Billy doesn't really become a character until you get this rank 2 upgrade of Blasted, and I'd have to agree. He goes from like okay, not really that strong unless someone really lets you just keep meleeing them and permanently shooting them while they're not really doing anything, to okay, now we actually have to worry about the character. He can go in, he can double bash down on you, he can blow you up because of wrecked. He's very, very powerful. And then at rank 3, you get plus 50 melee bonus health. So like I was saying, if you have this upgrade it would, and you do a heavy melee, it's 80 plus 50, it's 130, right? But if you're using Bashdown and you have this before you have the rank 3 upgrade of Bashdown, you're not getting 130 bonus health. You're getting 65 bonus health because Bashdown still counts as a light melee. Therefore, you want to take the rank 3 upgrade of Bashdown first, so instead of getting, you know, only 65 health, you're getting 80 health because it counts as a heavy melee. So it's more health that way. I know it sounds weird, but it's really, really important to take the rank 3 upgrade of Bashdown first, the 5 ability point upgrade. That being said, Blasted is so strong. This is one of, I genuinely think this is one of the best abilities in the entire game. Not only from the fact that it gives you another use of your freaking Bashdown, but it gives you a 16% bullet amp, and max health, and it reloads your gun, and it gives you movement speed. Insane steroid. One of the best steroids in the entire game, by far. And, like, yeah, it probably wouldn't be as good on other characters aside from Billy, right? Because Billy has a faster, melee. He has a faster quick melee. That doesn't really mean it would be bad on other characters. Could you imagine if, like, Abrams had this ability? If Abrams could reload his gun by freaking meleeing you, instead of having to wait to reload each individual bullet, and he gets bonus health, it would be insane. It would be truly insane. This ability is so disgustingly strong. And then we get to Chain Gang. Chain Gang is, like, really strong of an ultimate ability. You have to understand this. So what happens is Billy will, release the Chain Gang, and while he has it active for 2.8 seconds, he will start with a circle around him that if anyone is inside or enters the circle, they will get chained. And while chained, they get slowed if they try to move away from Billy, and after the duration is over, they will get pulled to him. And then it deals 150 damage with, or times 1 spirit power. Has a 150 second cooldown, and it gives him bullet and spirit resistance during it. That's really good, isn't it? Well, what happens is if they are touched by the chain at all, Billy will pull them to him when it ends. Which means even if you tag someone with it and then run away, you can use Fleet Foot, you can use Rising Ram, you can use all your dashes to run away, they will still be pulled to you no matter the distance. It can be broken by breaking line of sight with Billy for, I think it's over a full second. So even if you run away for just behind the wall, it will still get you. You have to break line of sight for an extended duration to be able to break it. This ult is insane. It can hit the entire team. It can pull them all in to get hit by Bashdown, which when you do that, it's really disgusting because Bashdown gains bonus health for each target you hit. It'll apply Spirit Snatch, so you get a bunch of, spirit resistance. Billy is just a really, really tanky character that's really good at fighting, and I mean, come on. If you've ever played against Billy, you know that you can't let this character get around and start doing whatever he wants to your team. You have to shut him down early because he just sustains so long in a fight and he can do so much. Yeah, he isn't the greatest into an instant burst because he has to either use his ultimate or hit a lot of people with, Bashdown to get a lot of health, but in extended fights, Billy is disgusting. He's such a disgusting character. At the rank 1 upgrade, you lower the cooldown by 25 seconds. This is actually pretty good, and you should probably take it pretty often. Usually I'll get this before I get the rank 5 upgrade of Bashdown, just because it's really valuable to lose 25 seconds on your ult cooldown, and you want to be using this ult kind of on cooldown because it's so powerful and it lets you set up kills so effectively. The rank 2 upgrade gives you plus 15% spirit and bullet res, so you go from 15 to 30% during your ult, which is incredibly strong. And then the rank 3 upgrade, you get deals plus 100 spirit damage on the pull, and after the pull, you gain unstoppable for 2 seconds. Now, that's not a super long time, but it basically means that for those 2 seconds right after you pull them into you, they can't really do anything to stop you. You get to use Bashdown into Blasted into Bashdown again as a combo right after the ult if you haven't used that previously, and there's nothing they can do to stop you, and they'll get knocked up during that. So you're basically just God for those next the 2 seconds right after your pull, and no one can really do anything to stop you. It's very, very nice to do so, and it's just really strong. I know I'm talking about how strong Billy is, but you have to understand that a lot of the strength of Billy is that he is a good at fighting character. Not every character in this game is good at fighting, but they are good fighting, if you get what I mean, right? If you say Holiday, right? Holiday does a lot of damage, and she, you know, has like, you know, good AoE damage. Her ultimate is like a CC to help her team, but that's not all Holiday does, right? Holiday has like very effective wave clear with the barrel. She has good poke. She has mobility that she can give to her team and stuff like that. Billy can't really do anything but fight the enemy team. So if you fall behind on Billy and you can't, well, yeah, you can clear some jungle camps, but you don't really bring any utility to the team aside from, you know, Chain Gang, which, like I said, if you just die during because they're so weak, it doesn't really do anything. Or a knockup, right, with Rising Ram or like Bashdown, right? He doesn't bring that much utility outside of his ability to fight and brawl. So let's look at some items that really complement Billy in a lot of ways. So this is the recommended build that I use, that I've seen a lot of people talk about. It's by Metro, the code's at the top. And Billy's main thing is that, like, he kind of does well with like every stat. So you can kind of really build not anything you want, but most things you want, right? Two items I really want to talk about are Spirit Snatch and Crushing Fist. So I've talked about Spirit Snatch a lot this video, and some of you might not really know why. Of course, it gives, you know, plus 7% melee damage, 100 bonus health, which is actually pretty high, generally speaking. But the main thing is the passive. When you perform a light or heavy melee attack against a hero, the attack deals extra spirit damage and steals spirit resist and spirit power. That's the most important part. Now, Bashdown can apply this to every target in an AoE, and because Bashdown will count as a heavy melee, it won't have the downside where the cooldown is 2 times longer for light melee hits. Typically, you're going to be able to get Spirit Snatch and Life Strike about the point that you get the rank 3 upgrade of Bashdown. That's kind of the way that Metro set up this build, and I really appreciate it for personally, because, you know, admittedly, you know, it's easier to go off a build than buy items yourself. Everyone knows that. So it's really effective. Now, 50 spirit damage, 15% spirit resist steal, and 15 spirit power steal on multiple targets is disgusting. You can pretty reliably get about 30% spirit resist steal from hitting 2 people. If you have your ult, you can definitely get more. You can have, you know, 45, even 60%. I definitely had games where I hit, you know, all 6 players on the team with the Spirit Snatch out of an ultimate, and it feels really strong. But, like, I mean, the main power of this item is the fact that you can get it so early because it's only a 3200 item, and it's such a strong item. It's only a 6-second cooldown. Crushing Fist, on the other hand, this is a more expensive item that you probably don't want to buy that often. However, I still feel like it's pretty strong. Not only does it give, you know, heavy melee distance, but 20% melee damage and plus 12% bullet resistance is not nothing. That's typically why I'm buying this item. Like, say I'm playing against more bullet heavy or gun heavy team comps. You know, Spirit Snatch, it kind of covers the whole, you know, spirit resist kind of thing for Billy. His ultimate gives some spirit resist as well, but you don't really buy that many items that give you a lot of bullet resistance when you're going this build path. You know, to Metro's credit, kind of, it makes sense, right? Spirit power is a lot stronger than bullet right now, but when you want a damage item and a bullet resist item, Crushing Fist is really good, really. Then, of course, it does have a passive. Honestly, the passive isn't even the reason or it is part of the reason I'm building, obviously, but, like, I'm mainly talking about the stats. Sorry. The passive, of course, every 7 seconds, your next heavy melee attack against an enemy deals 25% increased damage. Not nothing, especially when you apply Bashdown to everyone. And then passively, your melee damage will restore ammo, applying a stacking bullet resist debuff on enemies. Heavy melees apply 2 stacks. If they reach the max stacks, they will be stunned. You can get this really, really quickly on Billy. Like I said, Bashdown applies 2 stacks, so you can do Bashdown, hit blasted, bash out again. That gives you 4 stacks right away. You can tap light melee twice, and then, well, they're gonna be down, what, 24% bullet resist, and they're stunned for half a second? Yeah, you're gonna melt these people. Billy's gun, very powerful. You can build a lot of gun items, but typically when you are playing Billy, you want to be a little more well-rounded, right? He is kind of a tankier character, so you do want to be building your green items. You know, I know, green items don't deal damage, guys. Yeah, but who cares? You want to be killing people by staying alive as long as possible because of the insane, like, sustain in teamfight that Billy has because of his bonus health and just the damage that he pumps out with infinite ammo. Woo! That's it for me. If you can't tell, I made this video because I really like Billy, so I was kind of talking a lot more than, you know, Mo and Krill. I like Mo and Krill, don't get me wrong, but, like, I really like Billy. He's my most played character. He's really fun to play. I love this game. It's so much fun. I've come from like League of Legends. I came from playing, you know, Marvel Rivals. I have hundreds of hours in Rivals. I have thousands of hours in League. So this game just feels like a good, you know, culmination of two of my favorite games I've ever played, and it's so much fun. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me down below, did I miss anything important? I really want to know, because low-key I'm making these videos to get better at the game. I know, crazy, right? Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. Peace out.